The Resistance base is open, and that means it's time for TRB. Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you for joining us today. It's Monday. That means it's time to talk about the latest going on in Star Wars news. Not too many super hype stories, but some cool stuff to talk about in every realm of Star Wars, whether it's video games, live-action movies, or live-action TV. We're going to cover all of that and give our takes on that, as always. With me is James and Lacey. We are not live right now, even though you may be seeing us on YouTube and saying, well, I see you right there, John. You're live to me. But what we do, we don't do a lot of like editing on TRB. We're pretty much what you see is what we record and do. But we will be live soon. Right, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Just this. Boom.
That is correct.
Just ran into a brick wall. Just like, what do you guys have to say about that? Yep. So we're doing our first, we've done live podcasting before on a panel, but we're doing our first live broadcast on Thursday, August 27th, kind of in lieu of Star Wars Celebrations. And Celebrations not happening. Tear, sad.
What?
Breaking news. Breaking news, Celebration is canceled. But yeah, so in lieu of Star Wars Celebration, we're going to do a little bit of our own TRB version of a virtual Star Wars Celebration weekend, kicking off with a live podcast on Thursday. So instead of your morning podcast of TRB, you're going to get a show at night live from us. But don't worry if you can't be there live. We'll also have it onto the podcast feeds and everything after the fact. But then right after that, Lacey, what are we doing?
We're doing a virtual cantina.
Oh my God, right after the live show.
Oh my gosh, so much.
So yeah, the virtual cantina is coming back. We're going to do about an hour and a half right after our show. So I think that's going to be roughly around, what, like 9:30 or so?
9:30, yeah.
9:30 East. And signups start for the virtual cantina, for our virtual cantina Zoom call today. If you are a Resistance officer on Patreon, no matter what rank you are, you have access to sign up first, and those start at 11 a.m. East. And then everyone else can jump on at noon East to sign up for all the other spots. Spots are limited, but so try to sign up as soon as you can. But we're going to be running registration until this time around 9 a.m. next Monday. So you have about a week to sign up for the virtual cantina. We're going to do it, I don't know if you haven't seen it before, but we do it in kind of waves to try to get as many people in as possible. But sign up as soon as you can, and we'll make sure we have all the information available for you from our Twitter account at RBATSWNN. And if you are curious, you're like, I need the link, where is it? You can email us, resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. Just get a hold of us. You know how to get a hold of us. Well, make sure you get the link. Anything else you want to add to that, Lacey or James, on the cantina?
No, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, yep, you laid it out, everything. It's crazy that we're doing, we're even attempting to do some of the live stuff. But you're right, John, we pretty much just turn on the cameras and go. Anyway. Yeah,
and I know some people don't like the Zoom call, like interaction experience. Some people have anxiety, social anxiety. They just kind of want to chill. We'll be live doing the Zoom call and the virtual cantina on YouTube as well. So you can go right over there and watch from the comfort of your home without worrying about people looking at you or talking to you. And you can pop into the live chat there and text with us. And James and Lacey and myself will be checking that and responding on there. So everyone will be involved in all different ways. So however you want to be involved in the virtual cantina, there's an option for you to do it. So I think that pretty much covers that. I guess we can tell them about the shirt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We've been going so many ideas going on, everybody. I just need to tell you right now that some of it is like, well, we got to leave that there and tell that then. Then we're going to leave this over here and tell that then. Let's say this on the podcast.
He's not lying.
It's just
he's not lying. He goes, I guess we can tell him about the shirt. I don't know what they're talking about.
The virtual cantina shirt.
The virtual cantina
shirt.
Yeah.
We're going to have a special edition virtual cantina shirt available on Thursday, the 27th. It's kind of kicking off our store specials for the weekend, which is a whole nother thing that we'll get into. But so the thing is you can only get this shirt when the cantina is open. Once the cantina is closed, you can't get it until the next time the cantina is open. So that's the first kind of special we have going on in our store, which, we've all been working really hard at coming up with a really cool experience for you guys that leads into the weekend, because we're really sad we're not going to Celebration. I'm sure you guys are too. So we just wanted to think of what's the best way to interact with people and celebrate in a way that it's like we're there when we're not. So we're doing that through the live stream, which, like John said, we recorded live to tape anyway, so it's literally just pressing broadcast instead of record. Like, as you can see by the disorganization right now, it's fine.
Candidness.
So we're just going to be...
That's the word we like here.
Okay, candidness. And then we're going to do the virtual cantina, and then every day we're going to have a new item in our store, as well as a discount for a specific group of items. So check back every day for which items are on sale on what day, and we have new items, and we'll probably tell you, we will tell you those items next week.
Yeah. And we know a lot of our fellow podcasters and content creators out there are also doing stuff throughout the weekend. So we appreciate you taking the time to check in with us when we're doing our thing and support everyone else doing their thing. And it's everyone doing their best to try to push back the tears of the fact that Celebration's not happening. So I think it's cool that everybody's kind of taking it upon themselves to do some stuff to some semblance of celebrating Star Wars, which is really what this stuff is all about.
Right.
But yeah, the Cantina thing. So for anyone who's going to be actually on the Cantina call, you're going to have to take a second while you're on the call to get your shirt, because if you're on the call and you don't get your shirt, then you can't get your shirt. So remember that when you're on the Cantina. So we're going to see people on the side like, oh.
And cosplay is encouraged.
Yes.
It's like we're at Celebration.
Yeah. Like this guy, he's going to be dressed up. I'm not sure what he's going to wear yet. He's going to wear something. All right. So that is pretty much that. And we're excited. But now it is time, James, to fire up the stove, the hot stove of Star Wars news in the Resistance Report.
It's the Resistance.
So we got a couple of stories this week. Some have to do with live action, and a bunch of other things just kind of floating around in the Star Wars world. So we always got to start with the main stories, right? Let's talk about the live action stuff. Cassian Andor is back in the news this week. This time we got a new cast member. Now, I tried to look up this name. Adria Arjona?
Arjona.
Adria Arjona. Got it. All right.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. She was cast in a major role, lead role. So I don't know. I mean, you can look at, she was in Six Underground most recently. That's probably the most notable thing. Also, she has starred with she's been in other movies with other Star Wars characters, such as, John Boyega, the Pacific Rim Uprising, and Triple Frontier with Oscar Isaac. So she's been in a couple different, she's actually had a pretty good, career. If you look at like all the movies that she's been in, it seems like every single one of them has some weight. You know what I mean? She's going to be in Morbius coming up soon with Jared Leto. It's like, yeah, these are pretty well known movies. But she is coming to the Star Wars world. So what do you guys think about this, John? What's the details on this one?
So what's funny is, who did the story again?
I think Deadline.
Deadline.
So they put lead role, I think either in the headline or like the sub headline. But then later in the article, they're like, we have zero details about her character.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Oh no.
Landed a lead role, and then it says Deadline has no details. They have no details
about the character. And then they said, which is always the classic, Disney declined to comment or whatever. So
yeah.
And it's funny because I do that sometimes, like with our reports, and I'm like, yeah, they're gonna write back to StarWarsNewsNet.com and be like, actually, John, yeah, you're correct. That's absolutely true that's happening. But if you do it, then you get no response, then you can put it. You said we reached out to Lucasfilm and Disney, and they did not comment. Sounds more official. But yeah, so I actually looked at her resume on TV and film, and I have literally seen 0 things that she's been in. I didn't see Pacific Rim, Six Underground, or the Ben Affleck Oscar Isaac movie you just mentioned, James. But my guess is based on a couple of the roles she's played that she may be looking at a military type role. And that's just pure speculation based on Pacific Rim. That was her big breakout role. So maybe that's what caught their eye. Not really sure. But one thing I do find funny is, and we all do it, I do it too, is when you see someone cast, immediately your brain wants to see, like, connect them to the main character somehow. So you're like, was that Cassian's sister, Cassian's wife, Cassian's girlfriend,
love interest,
Cassian's whatever,
K2's love interest.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, look at Lando and L3. Love is love, folks. Okay, but it's not always the case. And I know, like, James, that was a big thing for you back in the day when everyone was like, who's this person connect to? Who's this person connect to? And you would always say, probably nobody.
Yes.
Correct. So we
It's
don't know, but I do find it interesting that we're always, our first instinct for whatever reason as fans is to always try to make the connection somehow. So I'm already seeing a lot of that going on, but curious to see. But with not having anything here, it's very possible she could have a very small role in this show. Like, she could be like that guy we saw on the plane coming back from Celebration, Lacey, Kenneth Long.
Detonator guy.
Yeah. He had been in, X-Men movies and stuff, and people are like, when he got cast for The Force Awakens, they're like, oh, I wonder if he's going to play some kind of cool villain or stuff. And he was just one of the Resistance guys, just like hanging out.
Gotta be some thermal oscillator.
Yeah, he's doing this with his hands. So she could be playing a button pusher who has like 2 lines or something. Like, Cassian walks by and she's like, "We found the plan, sir," and that's it. So we don't, we don't know what's going on here, but it's fun to speculate, especially during times of, bleak news stories and that sort of thing. Even the rumor mill's like quieted down a little bit too.
Everybody's just been in quarantine for a long time.
You're right, yeah. They're like, we've run out of things to make up. We can't even make up rumors.
We don't even see anyone.
I was trying to look up, because I was trying to look up her ethnicity to see if it matched, because I heard sister somewhat tossed around, not like behind the scenes, like on Twitter or something, right? She's Puerto Rican, he's Mexican, so I don't know where they want to draw the lines, but in the process, I did notice they were both in Narcos. I don't know if those characters.
I don't know that they cross paths, though. I don't
know that they cross paths. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But I did notice that she was in Narcos, and then I saw when I was looking up his ethnicity, it mentioned Narcos, and I was like, oh, they're both in that show. So that's kind of we worked on this together, and even if they weren't in episodes, their characters weren't. Maybe they were on set together. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with something. Similar agents,
who knows?
Yeah, again, like, no matter the news, it's one of those things, like, whenever I hear news, I go, oh yeah, that's good news, because that means they're still working on it. They're still doing it. And I'm so stoked for this show. I really think it's going to be really good. I agree with what you were saying, John, that for some reason, and I think it's probably because the picture on Star Wars Newsnight has her in a military outfit.
I picked it.
But yeah, I mean, like, if you're saying that this person is going to play a lead, you got to think it's got to be rebellion related, right? So what do you think, Lacey?
Or Empire or something. Obviously.
That's true.
The other side of said military. I could see it being something, I saw the same things you guys saw, where it was like, could it be his sister? Could it be someone related to him? Could it be someone that he's worked with that then betrays him and goes to the Empire? Could it be someone that's working for him on the inside of the Empire? I just think it's going to be one of those scenarios, and I hope it's not, but I feel like it's going to be, is we have to get to the point where we see Cassian in Rogue One, and he's like a very bitter person in Rogue One. So something had to happen to get him to that point where he doesn't care about things and he's just doing what he needs to do to get stuff done. Because you don't just end up that way. Like, stuff has to go wrong for you to get to that point. that you get.
I mean, he's been in
the.
the fight since he was 6 years old.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it's different. It's a little different than Han's trajectory, right?
I'm not saying it's necessarily Han's trajectory. I'm just saying it's maybe a similar thread in the sense of you don't start off being that jaded and negative. And he is very negative.
Do you think we'll get like a different type of Cassian in this show, you're saying?
I don't know about that. I just think that we're going to get instances where he realizes how much there is to lose. Like, not necessarily like mean. I'm saying like the stakes have to be set before he gets to Rogue One. Yeah. Where he's willing to risk it all.
And I think you're right. I think anybody who's like 100% constantly like war and without any hope or whatever is probably going to be pretty messed up. So I think at points in Cassian's life, he's going to have some levity. You know what I mean? I think you got to think too, like even Jyn is able to kind of win him over, right? And she kind of lets him in. All right, I trust you now.
And think about her life compared to his life. Her life, she was like basically ditched by her parents, ditched by the people that she was with when she was 16, left somewhere. And then she's like in jail and stuff.
Wouldn't you feel bad for her parents to say they ditched her? Didn't they try to like protect her?
I'm saying from her perspective.
Yeah.
She sees it as she got left behind, then get left behind again.
Yep.
Imagine being buried in a bunker and Saw Gerrera is the person who comes find you. Some guy opens the lid and you just hear,
since he was real little.
My child. You're like, I'm not your child.
Sir, I don't know you.
Yeah, sir,
Stranger
this is
danger.
a bunker.
She knows him.
No, I think
We're
I
just
figured.
kidding.
I think I figured it out, guys.
Okay.
I figured it out. The whole plot.
Oh, great. Here we go.
So you brought up the 6-year-old thing, right, James?
Got to bring in Vader. It's your biggest asset.
I mean, he may show up. I'm thinking if it's possible she is this lead role thing, even though they said we have no information, they like kind of contradicted themselves there. Contradicted. Hello, John. Welcome to Vocabulary. If she has a major role, and Lacey, you're saying like you talk about loss, like all these things are spinning in my head. What if this is a like Bruce Wayne, Rachel Dawes situation where like she was also in the fight when she was 6 years old, and we see them as kids, as like we're gonna see Cassian as a 6-year-old. They set that up in Rogue One. Like they're gonna show a flashback of him as a kid. What if they grew up together, similar families, they both went in different directions? I'm not saying like a Lost Stars thing. I'm not talking about that. But then, you know, they're adults and she gets killed or something, which does make him get a little more, you know, man, screw the Empire, screw all this stuff and whatever.
Not even that, he has nothing else to lose at that point.
Like so I'm thinking like, what if this is like a similar, like a Rachel Dawes and Bruce Wayne type of situation where we do see them as kids, kind of like at the beginning of Batman Begins, and then we see them kind of grow up and they both went on different paths. But they come, like fate brings them back together during this war or something like that. And they don't try to push the romance too hard, but you could, you know, work that angle. And this is obviously 100% speculation because we literally know nothing about the character.
She's definitely dying.
So
yeah, that's what I
was going to say.
Yeah, she dies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, you didn't say what I thought you were going to say, which is she's like, her death causes him to be like blank.
That's what I was implying. Yeah.
Okay,
as soon as they announced this character, I was like, oh, there goes another person who's going to die.
Like the
Star Wars
compared her to
to
Rachel
kill people.
Dawes.
The Paige Tico
I thought you were
the Cassian series.
What?
When you
everyone predicted Paige Tico's death.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, Rose has this person has a sister and she's not in any of the promotional tours or marketing. She's dying in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And everyone's like, I agree. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just thought you were implying the more... At first, I thought you were doing the Megan Gyllenhaal version of Rachel.
The whole
which is, I think...
thing.
Yeah, ultimately. But then I thought the more you were talking about it, you might have been talking like Katie Holmes, like just reunited. But yeah, it's a good character to compare to because it's kind of both angles.
Mm-hmm.
You know who... they recast Rachel, obviously.
Yeah.
You know who they do that with? Doctor Who.
They do.
Oh,
you're trying to get me to talk about Doctor Who now because we talked about
So
it.
John has never seen Doctor Who, and he didn't realize that he wasn't an actual doctor. Little fourth wall breaking here.
So
he thought the show was a European house.
Yeah. So everyone always talks about Dr. Friggin' Who, and I'm like, I don't know what channel it's on. I'm too lazy to find out.
BBC.
I just switched from cable to Hulu TV. Hello, Hulu. I love you.
Like 3 days ago.
On 5.
You're like, I switched to it. Yeah, like literally yesterday.
Yes, it all happened at once. It was great. It was freeing, very freeing. It was like when Han and Chewie bust out of the chains and get out of Mimban. But I just have no interest in Doctor Who, whatever. And people are always talking about it. So I'm like, guys, I have to be honest. And this was on one of the Patreon videos. But I was like, I couldn't even tell you what I think Doctor Who is about. I think it's about a doctor. And you're like, no, it's about an alien who is trying to save humans and he shapeshifts. I'm like, I would not have guessed that in a million years.
He doesn't shapeshift, but...
Yeah, it's sort of, yeah. You're still trying to piece it all together, but still.
He's in a phone booth. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, she's dying.
By the way, Bill and Ted comes out in a couple weeks. I'm pretty
That's
excited
going
about that.
to tank so bad. Oh, my God.
Oh, well, it's not. We're not going to even hear the numbers, really. They're going straight to video.
They're opening in theaters, too, though.
They are opening in theaters, but I think like any number that is like a bad number, they're going to be like, yeah, but you should have seen the numbers that and then they just won't tell us those numbers probably. But anyway, one final thing, we've said it a couple times in this, the whole like she landed a lead role, but we have no details on the character. I understand that could be contradictory, but also just like to think of it this way, like we know she's playing a lead role, but we actually don't know her character's name, her character's backstory.
I get it. I do.
Yeah. So it's not to completely throw them under the bus. They do have the story, but they just don't know anything about the canon character.
No, yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of live action television coming to Disney Plus, why don't we talk a little bit about this interview with everybody's favorite composer, Ludwig Göransson, right? He's actually right now promoting some other stuff. And did he do the score for Christopher Nolan's Tenet?
Yeah.
He did.
He did?
Yeah.
I did not know that. So he's actually doing the promotion for that, and he was asked about The Mandalorian, and he just had some really kind things to say about the second season and how they already started working on it, and he's really excited about the show and the direction that it's go. Even some stuff about John Williams. Lacey, what did you think about this, about him, having a little bit of time to shine here about The Mandalorian again?
So I love every interview that he's in because he just, again, seems like such a nice person. Like I could chill with him for hours, I'm sure, and it would be so interesting. But this interview as a whole is like a lot of stuff we've already learned, like how he got involved with Jon Favreau, what it's like to work with Jon Favreau. He talked about John Williams, which I feel like he talked about in the docuseries for The Mandalorian, where he talked about creating the music and recreating the feeling he felt when he was little, when it resembled John Williams, and how he felt watching Star Wars for the first time, that he was trying to recreate that same feeling for a younger generation. I feel like I knew that already. I felt super smart reading this article. I was like, I already know that.
Old news.
I already know that.
What else you got, Ludwig?
So anyway, the one thing that did stand out to me was him saying that he is working on season 2, has obviously already seen it, is interested in all the new directions and places that he's taking the story. And I immediately was like, what does it mean? What places? Where are you going?
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's all he says. He's like, they're going to new places. And you're like, okay.
Which is interesting because it could be literal or figurative.
Right.
Like
right.
Going to places that I didn't know existed, unknown regions, or places I didn't know existed, like
Mando's house.
No, not even. That's still physical. I'm trying to think like places like, oh, I didn't know that was Star Wars. I didn't know Star Wars could be a murder mystery. Yeah, or a musical. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
John, anything coming out of this, or are you kind of equal with Lacey?
Just trying to, it's speculation nation at this point. I got my tinfoils hats on, and I am ready. So I just take that little nugget he says about Favreau saying, or him saying he didn't know Favreau could take the story. And I took it as taking the story in places he didn't realize that it could go. Because he, in the documentary, the Disney Gallery thing, he definitely is a narrative-based music composer. he tells the story with the music. He really believes in that. So I think he does dial himself in to the story. And I don't see him. It's very peripheral for me with him. I don't see him as a very big Star Wars fan. So I don't think he's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're bringing in blah, or something like we've heard it before, like a Star Wars nerd like us would do. I think he means narratively, he didn't think that Favreau would push the envelope in terms of story direction. I didn't think we were going to go from this to this. So this, to me, even though I'm speculating here and it's just off this little nugget of a quote, I think this is another thing telling us that Favreau's not done pushing the envelope and taking risks with this show. The first season, even though it's a big success and we look back on it now as a safe thing, it was the first live action Star Wars show. That's a lot of pressure and a risk in itself because they didn't know how it was going to deliver. It could have fell flat. Mm-hmm. If Favreau hadn't done something like that before, he used big blockbuster movies. So that was a big success. Now it looks more safe. But going into it, it was a risk. He took all these, like Filoni called them, D characters that nobody cared about and made them fun to play with. I think he's pushing it again now. He's like, you like that, what we did? Let's try this. And he's going to try take us in a new direction and like maybe bring in, a couple of familiar people that we know from other mediums, but also take us on a journey that we're not expecting with Mando. So it excites me. And again, that's just me speculating, but trying to connect the dots based on what type of composer Ludwig is and how he would be dialed into what Favreau's doing. So from that angle, I think it could be very interesting what they do from a narrative standpoint.
I just picture John in his house with like a wall-length dry erase board and just writing the phrase out of like taking it into new direction, being like, what does it mean? And then like drawing lines to like circles
Favreau?
to pictures. No, you.
Oh, me? Oh, like
because
Charlie
there's
Day?
nothing going
like...
Yeah, there's nothing Pepe Silva. There's like nothing going on right now, so everyone's just like, what does he mean by this word choice?
I gotta get my red string and connect all the little thumbtacks.
Yeah.
It definitely is about the biggest thing out of that story with it, as far as him talking about Star Wars, because all the other stuff, like you said, Lacey, is just like, John Williams is great, and this is how I got involved with the project. It's like, we kind of already knew about this.
We all know John Williams is great.
Do you think there's a John Williams quota for all new Star Wars composers? They have to talk about him at least once in every interview? Or do you think the interviewers are so... I don't want to say not creative, but like they feel obligated.
Softball
or
question.
Like, gotta bring up John Williams, right?
Yeah, softball. Yeah.
Yeah, because he even says it in this
John
thing.
Williams?
He's like,
music, right?
He's he wrote the greatest music of all time. If not that, then the most famous, the most popular, or whatever. Yeah, so it's like, oh, geez. I didn't know he was doing Tenet, just as a side note. That's actually another big get. I mean, this guy went from Black Panther to The Mandalorian to Tenet, you know what I mean? It just sucks that we'll never see it.
Yeah.
Well, the release date is tentative. So
yeah. You've used it 17 times, John. Or maybe 12, or maybe 2,
well, you know
or
what, James?
Maybe 35. We don't know, because that's the thing about Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
What?
Put out the movie. I won't use the joke anymore.
Yeah.
See you guys in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got some other stories here. You guys want to talk holiday special? I know it's been around a while, but I see it here in the show notes, and I guess that's news. And oh, wait, no, hold on. Lego.
James is doing the fake surprise.
Lego Star Wars holiday special. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming to Disney Plus, actually. They announced this. It's like, what is it, like 47 minutes or something like that? Yeah. They're just they're doing it. They're gonna make it kind of in the sequel trilogy era with all the new characters and stuff. But I was looking, at some comments here, and I just saw everybody going, this is probably the best way to handle this. That's not my opinion. I'm just saying that was what it seemed like the vibe was, is it kind of felt like it was a win-win. You get to do a holiday special without it being a holiday special or messing with anything. So, John, what did you think of this kind of surprise news?
I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. I think it's a little weird because they're like, it's taking place after, the Rise of Skywalker. So we're going to see what's going on after the Rise of Skywalker. But then you realize it's not really canon or anything like that. I hope I get to see a Lego B. Arthur. I think that'd be wonderful. Quite frankly.
They're going to do it.
Yeah, they got to do it, right? Yeah, I don't know. The holiday special is so funny to me. And this is I was saying this in our Discord with our Resistance Officer patrons. Like, it's so bad that people jokingly pretend to like it to be funny, but then they've been doing it for so long that they forgot they were joking. And people are like, wait, do I like it? And then they watch it again. And they're like, no, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Here's why I disagree, John. Nobody likes it.
That's right. No, but that's what I'm saying. No one actually really likes it.
I actually do. I think it's funny.
Really?
Yeah. Did I tell you guys a couple years ago?
You need to watch it again.
Yeah.
I think you're falling into John's thing.
Matt went to New York Comic Con one day without me, and he came home and he's like, Lacey, I got you something Star Wars. I'm like so proud because he's always like trying to find me something, but he knows that I have so much stuff. Mm-hmm. So he goes, here, I got this for you. And he goes in his backpack. He hands me a DVD. It's a DVD of the holiday special.
Oh, my God. Did he buy it on the street corner?
He bought it on New York Comic Con's show floor.
That's amazing.
Like some DVD guy had it. And I was like, how did you get this?
Wow.
George Lucas is like, no.
It's got to be a knockoff, right? It wasn't like an official.
No, it was a copy. Someone copied the movie.
Well, yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they would have never released a DVD. That would have been years later.
Yeah.
I do like Poe Dameron in an ugly Christmas sweater, though. I'll say that.
So, here's the thing.
That's my
it's
take
obvious.
on it's holiday special.
Obviously a special for kids, right? It's Lego, it's for kids, it's Star Wars, it's supposed to be funny and cutesy and hey, have some fun, learn some life lessons, call it a day. And I totally get that it's not canon. Like the Lego games and stuff are kind of canon but kind of not. Like they go through the events of Star Wars movies but they don't hold true to them. Like they put jokey stuff in there that you wouldn't obviously see in a normal Star Wars movie.
But I actually do not know the canon of Lego, considering there's the Freemaker Adventures, and I thought those were not canon, and I've heard that they are, and it's just confusing. I'm
going to be honest, I don't know like the ins and outs of Lego canon, but I just know that they try their best to follow along to the story, but then they'll put in little moments here and there that don't make sense to the adult version, but it's because it's for kids. The thing I don't get about this, which first of all, I laughed when I read the plot because when we were talking about our predictions for episode 9, I was like, okay, so or episode 10, I was like, okay, so Rey's gonna go on a journey and look for Jedi stuff, but I don't know where it goes from there, but she's just going on a journey. And then I'm reading this plot and I'm like, wow, my guess was really bad if this is what I'm reading for this Lego movie where she goes on a Jedi trip and goes back in time. It's like my nightmare. Time travel in Star Wars is my nightmare. But the one thing that kind of threw me off is it's the Rise of Skywalker. Obviously, they said it's not necessarily canon, but they said that there's a part where Palpatine, Vader, and Kylo Ren are together, which makes no sense because Palpatine was basically admitting that he harassed Kylo Ren and ruined his life and got us all his family killed. He's not going to be chilling with him.
I think people need to look at this as Robot Chicken.
And that's fine. That's totally fine. But reading it on paper, I was like, wait, what? And the guy was like, it's going to be super fun. I was like, what?
They're just goofing around. That's all this is. And there's going to be fans who are going to try to grasp at straws and make this be some sort of hint of what's to come. And
I just don't understand why, we're getting almost to a year, right? We're a little over halfway through 2020. Why is this the first piece of content we're getting post Rise of Skywalker? Why is it a Lego holiday special and not a book or a comic or anything else? That's my question. And it's rhetorical. No one has to answer it.
I don't think that's crazy, right?
I would think that we would get something.
I think because they don't
Or
want,
give us a
it's only been,
plan
like-
of something.
I think a lot of that has to do with
Because didn't they cancel the comic series that's supposed to take place? They canceled
No.
something.
Yeah, they that was a rumor that was going around, and I actually tweeted that, and I was like, "What's this?" And then like a week or two later, they clarified that it's still happening.
Oh, okay.
I think the reason is this. I think they want to keep the pathway of this in their pocket to bring back if they need to, in terms
Sure.
of Rey and the legacy evergreen characters. And they want to be able to, whoever comes to do it and tell the new story, be able to give them as blank a canvas as possible for the first time ever in a Skywalker saga, where you're not tied to Luke, Leia, Han, and you could take
Right.
Rey on an adventure. If you
Right.
start telling canon stories in books and comics and stuff, you start funneling that down into a finer point where, like, well, I wanted to do this, but you made her do this in this comic and book. So I think they're waiting to see what the big picture is first before they start throwing us.
Yeah, the
I get
second
that.
one comic
I don't know.
says, I'm going to go and eat slushies because that's my favorite thing and that's the thing I wanted to do.
Right.
Then they have to somehow incorporate her journey to eat slushies.
Right.
I don't know.
Like the comic
Yeah,
book
no, I
writer.
hear what you're saying. I don't know. I guess it goes back into my discussion of like the future of Star Wars, of like where are things going if everyone's like, we're getting a Lego special. And I'm like, okay.
To be clear, if anybody hasn't read the synopsis for it, basically she goes off on a journey to learn more about the Force, and in the process of going
BB-8.
through mysterious Jedi, with BB-8, in the process of going through the Jedi Temple, she somehow kind of like world between worlds ish, and it's just it's a simple way for say how can we have Rey interact with prequel and original trilogy characters and stuff like that. That's all they're wanting to do. And
It sounds like
I wouldn't be
Christmas Carol.
surprised too if like Kylo Ren was like behind her, like followed her in, and then he kind of like causes havoc, sort of. You know what I mean?
Right.
It sounds like like not Back to the Future, but like maybe Back to the Future the ride. Like Biff stole the DeLorean.
Oh,
Like,
man.
I was gonna say
You
it
know
sounds
what I
like
mean?
Christmas Carol to me. Like she's going to the past, present, and future, or whatever, but just
sure,
past-related.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a fair analogy. Like, I think it's just gonna be a silly, fun 45-minute romp. And
I'm
honestly,
gonna watch it. It's
you
gonna
sit
be
down-
funny, I'm sure. But
yeah, like even my son, he's like 2. He'll probably like get a kick out of some of the visuals. Like, it's not like that's how you gotta look at this thing. I think
Yeah. And also,
It's
we'll
Legos.
think it's funny because
Come on.
we're going to get holiday special
but
jokes.
you kind of ask questions when you're reading the story on paper that you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But maybe it'll make more sense when
What
I
if
see
they throw like Will Ferrell in as President Business as like a villain?
it. Bring in your Twitter jokes over.
That was an RB joke. People like that.
Oh, sorry.
What's next? Oh, other games, right? New details on the Visceral game that was canceled a long time ago. Now this was supposed to be an open world kind of single player Star Wars game that was actually looking like pretty promising. And we actually got more details now that kind of continue to say the same thing. Like, we were really excited about it, and we thought maybe we had something that could be Game of the Year potential. And here's why here's just a basic overview of how it kind of fell apart between people moving in studios. You can read more about the actual details there on StarWarsNewsNet.com. But Lacey, you're probably the most heavy into video games here. You want to talk about this?
Yeah, so this was a story that really caught my attention in the past week because it was a canceled game, which at first headline you're like, okay, so what? But then you get into the nitty gritty of what the game was and like how they had announced it at E3, and it was a part of this bigger picture plan, and they had a whole reel that they played with Battlefront and Jedi Fallen Order and everything like that. And this game was supposed to feature a character that was like part Han Solo, part Star-Lord, an adventure game with all these cool levels that they had built already, and the story was by a creative Amy Hennig. And she's like one of the best in the industry, that like her games are the best. So there's a big question mark around the people that worked on this game of what happened and why did this happen? Because it was so promising to the point that they'd start building it, and you could see screenshots of gameplay, and they said that the gameplay still exists somewhere. And obviously we got Jedi Fallen Order, which everybody loves from EA. But it's just kind of a question of what's going on. And when I read the article, what stuck out to me is that it just seemed like, once again, I don't know if it's because Disney and Lucasfilm just branched out in all these different aspects of content too quickly and couldn't manage all these different projects, but it's like another project that falls into that list of, it seemed really unorganized. People didn't understand what was going on. They kept changing their minds. You know, the people that started out on the project that were super excited about it then left to go to other game studios to work on other projects. And then executives came in and were like, no, we actually really want to do this again. And then those people had left already, so they just closed the studio and called it a day. So naturally, you have these people that are like, I put so much time, effort, and passion into this video game. Why did this happen? And why, seemingly, is EA and Lucasfilm so disorganized that this happened? And that's what stuck out to me, because I was like, here's another example of a project that had so much promise and interest and passionate people that are behind it that didn't work out. And you can't help but wonder, like, what is going on? To the point that, once again, Doug Chiang is in this reel talking about how he came up with the look of the game and all these characters, and he was happy to come in and design stuff. And it's bringing me back moments from High Republic where we're seeing Doug Chiang talking about bringing character ideas and all this development. And you're like, there's a constant thread here, and I'm just trying to figure out what it all means. But it's just, I am someone that would love more content than less. So when I see something like this that was in a certain direction that looked really, really cool, that potentially the people that are working on it said it could be the best game ever created, you can't help but wonder what happened.
Do you know what time frame this was supposed to be in? Did they reveal that?
It was supposed to come out in 2018.
No, the time frame
story,
for the game.
is there
Oh, it was so I don't know if they said that specifically, but First Order logos are on the banners.
It's First Order, not Empire?
Okay.
I don't think it's Empire. Let me look at the picture really quick. But
well,
it wasn't
what
the
do you got,
same
John?
time frame as Jedi Fallen Order. It was a different time frame with brand new characters and brand new stories.
Well,
they said,
because I've talked to people about.
That's Empire.
It is Empire.
Not First Order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people about this sort of thing. I think like last year, I forget, but it's kind of like less, I think, being unorganized and more of like priority based on hierarchy for medium types, and like they'll be like, so it turns out they want to develop something about this on this type of medium, or they want to do this on TV, so we can't do this on game anymore, or they don't want to, they're not interested in doing this in a game anymore, or you need to change this. Like Story Group goes to Disney and Lucasfilm goes back to the game company and like relays these messages and say, this is not going to work anymore. You need to change this. And I feel so bad for the people who work on those games, because I can't imagine how much work goes into making those. And then they're like, you need to, it's like building one of those fancy sandcastles on a beach that wins awards, and it's like 30 feet long, and then like a wave just comes up and just swallows it and it's gone. And they're like, build a different one. Like that's so crushing, and I feel so bad for those people who put that work in, especially when they say, like you say, it was supposed to be the best ever. But I think it's that thing where it's like they don't care if people worked on it. They're like, something else came up where this isn't going to work for us, so you need to either change it or it's just not going to work. And it's very cutthroat in that way, which is unfortunate. But I mean, I'm not a big gamer, but it's hard to not be disappointed when you hear them say that they think this could have been the best game ever.
Imagine the chaos that would be caused if a document ever leaked with all the projects that were ever stopped or said no to.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
They're like, Solo 2.
Yeah. I'll say this. On this particular story, I believe I have a very different take than you guys do on this. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the story, but I don't think that this is Lucasfilm making the decision here.
No, it sounded like EA was.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this is like, okay, so like you go to Hot Topic, right, and you buy a Star Wars shirt. Like Lucasfilm does not have people that are making Star Wars shirts. These are people that work at Hot Topic who make the shirts. They come up with the designs. They may be able to talk to someone who works like in an apparel department or whatever, and they're like, hey, here's the characters and here's what we're looking for or whatever. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Hot Topic who is creating the content, and then they're getting the approval and the okay to license, and it's an officially licensed piece of product. EA, if I'm not mistaken, they're obviously more heavily involved in this type of stuff. But
they
I
have
saw
the license,
this as
I think they license it, like it goes even further.
Yeah. They have the exclusive license,
right.
yeah. But I see EA goes to Lucasfilm and they say, hey, we want to be the people who make your games, and they go, cool, you got the contract, and they set up 3 games.
Sure.
And EA's management of the first 2 games were fine. They went through I guess you could maybe say 3 games because Battlefront and Battlefront 2 along with Fallen Order. But for whatever reason, this game was like its own department under Visceral. So even EA is a major conglomerate here is still licensing out to Visceral saying, hey, get this stuff together. And then EA is like pulling people off of the project to go work over here and over here and over here. And I think when you guys were describing the story, I got the impression that you're like, this is Lucasfilm that doesn't have it together.
No. I said EA.
Yeah, that's not what I said.
Man, I really took it as both of you said that. You're like,
this
is just another example of... Yeah, no, but like the High Republic, and they just can't get it together. And all right,
I was just pulling comparisons, but I said it was EA. It was EA.
So this is... This to me is not anything that has to do with Lucasfilm. It's just I don't know. It's like a missed opportunity, but it's weird to me. It's kind of like hearing a story about like a book or something that like an author like had a really good thing going on, but then I don't know. He I don't know. A family member died and he wasn't able to write the book or whatever, you know?
Sure.
It has nothing to do with disorganization at Lucasfilm and it has more to do with EA. And I feel like at a whole, this type of stuff is probably happening fairly often. Even when we keep hearing all these rumors about different television shows that are happening and stuff. It's like, I'm sure at some point they're kicking around a couple different ideas and they're working on them. And the only thing that I would say that's different here is the fact that this was a little bit more like announced.
Like at a big stage,
but I think it just kind of like got further in the process, and EA said, hey, if we are to deliver on all these other products that we put out, including other Star Wars properties, we're going to have to cut the ties with this one because it doesn't seem to be working anymore. Like I said, all the details are in the article as far as like they had good story writers and then the story writers were gone. So then they're like, well, we don't have anything anymore. Anybody who was good at that stuff is you moved them. You moved them off the project. So it's not our fault. It's just kind of like an unorganized EA. Now, EA is still like massive and they're still successful. Some people don't like them. A lot of people don't like them, but I think at the end of the day, it's just kind of one of those things like things don't make the cutting room floor, you know,
Sure.
They just don't, they don't always, not everything you start makes it, to the shelves, I guess.
To clarify, I said they are organized, but they use medium hierarchy in terms of saying like, because of this happening now up here, this game isn't going to work with what we're doing with story. And I was told that is a thing that happens. And I don't know game production.
Yeah, but I still feel like that's you saying Lucasfilm is saying, hey, this isn't working.
Yes.
Pull the plug.
But that's not being unorganized. It's saying like, I'm glad you guys are working on this, but this project that will make the company 800% more in profit has this story with this timeline that kind of counteracts what this is going on with this game. So we got to put a squash on that. because this director and this writer want to do this.
Yeah.
So
I hear you, but that's not part of the story at all.
But I'm saying why a game may be canceled, that's a big part of it. And I'm not sure in terms of like video game productions how far along a game would be where they'll squash it in terms of how often that happens. This sounds like this thing was like there was gameplay involved, so it sounds like this thing was late in the process, like stomped out.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think you guys are saying the same thing, James. I think I got you a little confused because I brought up Doug Chan.
I'm still hearing John, and I'm going, that's what I thought he was saying. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case at all.
I'm telling you, I was told from pretty reliable sources that happens, but you can not believe that.
Yeah, no, I believe that happens. Okay. I just don't think that is happening at all in this particular story. But I definitely think like a book or a comic or a television show, potentially, maybe, you know. Yeah. But I don't know that I mean, that's not what this particular person was. That's not the story they were telling. It was never like, then stuff happened that we can't really talk about.
Oh, yeah,
it was more like
people take
it was
the
unorganized EA and how they were handling it, and it didn't really have anything to do with Lucasfilm ever really putting their foot down on something that caused the project to be swayed so hard that it made it fall apart.
Also, the person being
so it was like
interviewed
Lucasfilm was an innocent bystander in this. I think it was just EA saying, "We can promise you a game. Our bad, we didn't meet the deadline, so the game's not coming out," kind of thing.
That, and I also think there has to be a side of it that you're hearing it from the point of the view of the person giving the interview. So he or she might only know the EA side and not know the Lucasfilm side. So potentially,
that's absolutely true too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying that to me, this story read like it was somebody saying it was EA's fault. And I could almost hear a tone of like, so don't blame Lucasfilm on this at all. Mm-hmm. It was totally our company that like messed this thing up. So,
right.
Man, we've talked a lot about a lot of these stories. We still got one more too. Just a quick one. We already knew that the Stories of Light and Dark, which was a Clone Wars centric book, was coming out. But we kind of got news last week that they're actually doing it in an audiobook. And the cool thing about it is that it's going to be read by similar to kind of, you say, like maybe the Count Dooku stuff or the Dr. Aphra thing. They're actually going to bring in a bunch of the cast members from the Clone Wars to do the audiobook, and they're reprising their roles. So it's kind of a neat little thing that's happening, and that's coming out on the 25th. So I imagine this would be somewhere around a Celebration release. Sean, what did you think of? Is this something you are interested in?
No, but I think it's cool that this is for kids. They say it's a good way to get kids into the story of the Clone Wars by not retelling, but sort of a different perspective on some of the events of the Clone Wars. It says ages 8 to 12. I think that's a good reminder of what these things are really all about. I know people don't like when I say that, but it's just the reality of it, especially, this type of thing. I'm not saying the Clone Wars in general is just for kids, but this project, I think, is almost like a gateway thing to help kids get into what can be an overwhelming amount of storytelling in the Clone Wars, because 140 plus episodes or whatever it is for 7 seasons this day and age, for 21 minutes each for an attention span of an adult is a lot, let alone a kid, to have them sit down and barrel through that. So this might be a way to spark something inside them to want to get involved, especially in audiobook. You're in the car and it's summer. I know we're not going on vacations and stuff, but you got to start taking kids to school or whatever, and you're in the car with them. Maybe pop this on, and they're like, they get their imagination going. They're hearing the voices, and it could be a good way to introduce kids to that story. So I think it's I think it's a cool venture and a smart idea for them to do that. Yeah,
Lacey, any interest in the audiobook?
I actually might check this out because I'm a big fan of audiobooks, so this might get my attention. I just want to put out an apology to Stephen Ford that Matt Lanter is once again reprising his role
Stephen
as Anakin.
What could have been?
I saw the cast list and I was like, again.
Stephen Ford is the Pete Best of the Clone Wars, the guy who didn't make it in the Beatles.
But the other thing too, as always, gets me excited of what other stories are going to do in this format. I would love an audiobook style of like the sequel cast. Like that would be awesome for me. So I'm hoping to see this continue on in a cool format that, you know, podcasts are more popular than ever. So this makes total sense that they would then go into this way for books as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because when they originally announced the book, I assumed that it would not have an audiobook. I just kind of thought it was like you know, fun little like short stories or something.
Right.
Now that they're doing the audiobook, I'm interested. I imagine I will probably get a like a review copy of it. So you might see it on Book Discussions, you may not. I'm not really sure. The book releases before other books that I already am in the process of reading come out. So you would have thought they would have already sent this to me, but I don't know. It's kind of, it's interesting and I'm excited. John, you mentioned when kids might do this. I don't know how long each one of the stories are, but these could be like bedtime stories, you know, like you go upstairs, you put it on and you listen to a story, you go through the whole adventure, and then your kid goes to bed, and they can't wait to go to bed the next night because they get another Clone Wars adventure.
Even better.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
But yeah, if it's anywhere close to, say, like they did like Myths and Fables, those were on an audiobook, and those were fairly interesting to listen to, and they're just neat little stories. So yeah, I guess I'm excited for it. Wow, guys, that's it. That's a lot of news. Let's get to the last couple things we do in our show. What's up, Lacey?
So, guys, it's time for the Patreon pod race.
Yes!
So as you guys know, there's a lot of different ways you can support us. You can like this video, comment, subscribe. You can subscribe on all our audio apps, which would be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean. I don't know. There's like new ones every day. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. Too many letters. Follow us on Twitter. No, I just said that. Follow us on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. And on top of that, if you want more, even more content than that, you can head over to Patreon at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. So like we talked about at the top of the show, you get early access to a lot of stuff that we're doing. You get mini episodes. We do polls. There's group chats and all different stuff starting at $2 a month. So for our top tier, our generals, this is a section of the show that we really let them become part of the show. So first of all, I want to thank our generals. So thank you, Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, Micah Harrison, Jetta Rosewater, Michael Gaines, Bethany, Russ Harbison, and oh my gosh, Kendall Kellnar. I almost said Gendel Kellnar. Kendall
It's a good
Kellnar.
Star Wars name.
That is a
Kendall.
great Star Wars name. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means so much to us. This week, we have a rotation slot in here, which is cool. We get someone different in for these rotation slots, which is Spicy Micah Harrison, our general. So this week, we asked him, with Lucasfilm set to begin making more Star Wars movies without the Skywalkers, what makes a Star Wars movie to you? So Micah, take it away.
Hey guys, 3 things that every Star Wars movie has to have is a sand planet, alien song and dance number, and blue or green milk. That's it from me. No, but really, Star Wars has always been more of a feeling than a list of things that make it what it is. For me, it's belonging. Every Star Wars movie from each era has made me feel like a part of something larger, just like how every character from A New Hope to Rogue One ends up finding a family, or, you know, a makeshift family of friends and comrades. I mean, I found the same thing in the Star Wars community too. Growing up, you know, the thing that I liked the most was the joy and hope I got from some of the themes, like a higher purpose and having, you know, you fight for your friends no matter what. You stand up to evil no matter where it comes from, even if it's from your family, your father in that scenario. And you stand by your beliefs even when everyone says it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Believing in your friends and having faith in something larger than yourself is what Star Wars is to me. And as long as they keep that feeling and a couple totally awesome lightsaber fights, I don't think Star Wars has a expiration date anytime soon. Thanks for the question. May the Force be with you.
Well done, Micah. Excellent job. First of all, nice t-shirt. He's wearing our Mando fan show shirt. You can get that at Teespring/user/
teespring.com/stores/resistance broadcast.
That's the one. You can go there.
I also think teespring.com/Mando fan show or TRB Mando fan show, something like that.
I think it's TRB Mando fan show. Yeah, but if
try
you
them
want,
all
you can
out,
go
and
there.
hopefully
Yeah,
they're
why
not bad.
Try them all out.
I should write this down before I go. Okay. Anyway, first of all, I did write down what you wrote, Micah. So I'm going to run through a couple things that you noted. First of all, no more sand. I don't want any more sand in Star Wars. We've had enough. I would love an alien musical number. And I completely agree with you that Star Wars, more than anything else, is about finding that sense of belonging and your kind of misfit family that becomes your family after you go on crazy adventures with them, which is kind of what we have here on TRB. Is these guys came out of nowhere, and now I'm stuck with them. I have no choice.
Talking about us?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
How do you do?
All right. James, what did you think?
No, it was good. But real quick, it is teespring.com/the Mando fan show.
Hey, there it
nice
is.
and easy. Okay. Yeah, no, I like this. At first I thought he was dead serious. I thought you were really like honestly saying sand planet and alien dance numbers and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be interesting.
Micah loves the first 15 minutes of Return of the Jedi only.
Yeah, I also thought too, because he does the like fake out thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was like super short. He didn't know what to say. I like the answer. Obviously, all these things are very Star Wars related. I couldn't help but think I have to find a movie that is about friendship and finding belonging and stuff that has nothing to do with Star Wars, and just send it to him and be like, here's another Star Wars movie for you, man. Here's all the things that you say. As long as they do these things, it'll be a Star Wars movie to you. Because I felt like the most common answers were going to be like, well, it's got to have lightsabers. It's got to have
He
the
did
Force.
say that.
He did say
Saber fight,
lightsabers, so.
Oh, all right, yeah. Yeah, but good answer, and I'm glad you got to do the pod race. Good one.
John?
So yeah, Micah, you I know you have this reputation on our Resistance base on Patreon of being the spicy one. You are the spice runner right now out of all of our Resistance officers, no matter what the rank. So I was like, I can't just give him a spicy topic. I want to hit him here, and I want to see this Micah, and you delivered. So, but I agree with you, man. And you kind of do show that in our community, and I appreciate what you said about how you found what you like to see in Star Wars. You found that in the Star Wars community, and that we're a part of that. So I'm honored that you decided to become a part of what we're doing. That means a lot. But you're right, like that found family thing, and we see you kind of do that, like Make Solo 2 happen day. There were a handful of people who were like bashing it, and you're like, no, that's not gonna fly here. And you took them to task, man. So very Chewbacca of you. You ripped their arms off. But no, great answer, man. I hope you're well. Hope you're safe. I'm glad you're back to the restaurant and cooking and doing your thing. But thanks for being a general. Thanks for being the man. Stay spicy. I'll see you around.
Awesome. Great job, Micah. And thank you to everyone on Patreon, and outside the base for your support. And now we're going to head to Lacey.
Oh, I already saw her smile on her face.
Resistance transmissions. Lacey? Thanks, Lacey. Appreciate that. It's time.
That's Attack of the Clones.
I don't think the world can handle two Lacey's. It's time for Resistance Transmissions. So the way that this works is every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation. And you guys give your answers on Twitter at RBATSWNN. So, this week, the scenario is Chewbacca has to apply to new jobs for income until hashtag Star Wars decides to hashtag make Solo 2 happen on Disney+. What does Chewie have on his resume that he thinks would impress a future employer? All right, first up is Mello at a Gray Jedi, who's one of our generals. Hello, Mello. And he said, expert amputation assistant can remove arms from sockets without special equipment.
That's important.
Nice.
Next up is Neil Shaw at Neil Shaw. Hey, Neil, one of our generals as well.
Neil?
He said, name, Chewbacca, Chewie, born, Kashyyyk, skills. I am solely responsible for keeping the Millennium Falcon flying after my moof-milking friends break it every time we fly. References. Han Solo, Lando, Rey, Finn, Poe, and pretty much any Skywalker.
Man, look, that's right.
Next up is Fluke Skywalker at one Fluke Skywalker. And he said, is housebroken and can fly the Millennium Falcon.
Housebroken is key.
Yeah. You know, Fluke lives in Cincinnati, which is real close to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah?
He cosplays
Yeah,
as Luke. He's a good Luke.
Yeah, he cosplays as Luke, but I could be wrong on this story too, but I felt like he wasn't even really into Star Wars until he found out he kind of was like, he looked like the older Luke Skywalker.
Is that
so he decided
really?
he decided to get into it
Wow.
after that. Now he does everything for like Ronald McDonald houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does a lot of
if
charity
you're,
stuff.
Yeah, if you're interested in supporting him, go check out the stuff he's working on. I think he's doing like a movie or a fan film or something too.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Good job,
cool.
Fluke.
Next up is Alexander Moyland at Alexander Moyland. Hey, Alex.
Way to get your
and
handle.
he said, Chewbacca Jones, MS in spice running, master of smuggling.
That's pretty good.
That's from Jonas saying his name is Chewbacca Jones.
Yeah, I wrote that to him on Twitter on Thursday. Because he said he had to buy something. And he's like, I had to take my credit card out. I'm like, does it say Chewbacca Jones on your credit card? And he's like, you know it does, but I'm not giving you the 16-digit number.
Next up is Beer Fett at beer_Fett. Hey, Bethany.
What up?
And she said, you will never get a better sleep than curled up in my lap. That is a weird thing to put on a resume.
Yeah, I don't know who.
I'm
who's
reading the
paying him
resume.
for
I'm like,
that.
all right.
Well, you know that's
Solo, yeah.
Yeah.
We get the
But-
reference, John. We're
just saying.
creators
Yeah.
of Make Solo 2 happen.
But he's applying to a company where people can come and sleep in people's laps.
Yeah.
And his resume is, you'll never get a better sleep in my lap.
maybe you know those random things in resumes sometimes, like, yeah, I'm a really good juggler, and people just like randomly drop a thing for like funsies, like in the skill.
Do they? I don't have anything fun on my resume. Super boring. Next is Agent 37 at _Agent 37, who said undefeated at holochess.
It's important. He cheats though.
I was just about to say, you got it too quickly. I was like, he cheats. It's clearly cheating.
Next is Jeff P. Skywalker at RIP Burt Convey. And he said, proficient in Microsoft Office Suite, including Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Dejaric.
Yep.
It's important. If they
Included
add that
in the
to
Microsoft
That's
Suite.
part of the Office
Yeah.
suite, yeah.
And last but not least is Sebi_Webby at Seabast81300. I paused because I was like, wait, why isn't his Twitter name Sebi_Webby?
So his name is
Yeah, that's
Sebastian,
true.
and he was it was his birthday today as we're recording, and he's 20 years old. So happy birthday,
Way
Sebastian.
to put out all his info out there.
It's on his Twitter handle right there.
All right, Sebi, you said, I've lived through the Skywalkers effing up the universe. I mean, accurate.
That goes at the top of your resume, if you ask me.
Definitely. So if you guys want to be on the show, make sure to head over to Twitter at RBATSWNN and just look for this scenario every week. And you can be on the show. And that's it. Back to you, John.
Yikes. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching and being a part of the Resistance. Before we close up the base, we just want to make sure that you know to subscribe to the show. Lacey mentioned some of them before, but you can do that on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe because we get 2 episodes every week coming at you. And then, of course, on YouTube, like the Virtual Cantina and all the other stuff coming down the line. But one other thing, make sure you are spreading the word about the podcast. We had a guy recently reach out to us, and he's like, yeah, someone told me about you guys, and I checked you out, and now I'm a big fan of yours. Don't just assume that people know about Star Wars podcasts, specifically us. So if you know anybody who likes Star Wars, share us with them. And, maybe they'll get on board, and you'll have someone to enjoy the show with, and it'll help your experience of enjoying the show. So we appreciate you guys spreading the word. It really does help us out. We talked about Teespring before. StarWarsNewsNet.com. You got to go there every day for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing, editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and at teespring.com/GaryThePorg, buying t-shirts.
Nice. Lacey?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
All right.
I got my handle.
Enjoy your week. We'll be back with you guys on Thursday morning, where we're going to be joined by a special guest, Ming Chen from Kevin Smith's Comic Book Men show on AMC, which is now on Amazon. You can stream that to get to know him a little bit more. If you haven't watched that yet, you should have. He's going to come nerd out with us about Star Wars, though, and we're going to have a good time chatting it up. We're going to get into a little bit about how does Star Wars catch up to all the other franchises who are doing so well globally. But it's going to be a great show, and we're going to nerd out as always. So until then, enjoy your weeks. We'll see you next time on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.